Hi, everybody. We were expecting to have a guest host on the program today, but technical difficulties on his end. I didn't realize that he was using a Macintosh computer, which might have something to do with why he's having trouble getting Google Hangouts to work. He's in the process of trying to find the correct app. If anybody wants to help Amsterdam out, I've tried for the past 20 minutes, but I know nothing about Macintosh computers. And quite honestly, I think he needs to be using a Chrome browser. What do I know? I'm just a cow. Welcome to Moohead Radio. I will soldier on and go it alone. And if he happens to pop in, then we will do the show together. How's everybody doing after this tragic weekend? RG3 and Danny Salazar up in smoke. Boof. Just like that. Salazar gone for the regular season because of an inflammation in his arm, and RG3 because of a broken coracoid bone in his shoulder. He is out for 8 weeks, but you're not going to see him again. And it gives me an opportunity to talk about some of the things that I enjoy talking about. Like the one year I went to the Bahamas and Paradise Island. No. I get to talk about the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Indians, and all things Cleveland sports. I appreciate those people who are supporting the program. 150 people watched the Cleveland Browns post-game show so far, and 75 watched the halftime show. So overall, very big numbers for Moohead Radio, which usually die after 3 or 4 weeks once people realize just how bad the Cleveland Browns really are. And I suppose all of us have a clue as to how bad the Cleveland Browns are. Nice to see people in the chat room. Hi, Tony and Wiley Fox and General Dog. And Amsterdam is there, and somebody give him some help. He might need it. Reverend Kowalski, good to see you. Reverend Wabel, and all the people who are along the line watching on YouTube. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I wanted to start out the program today by discussing, rather than just focusing on the injuries that we have here to talk about, is to talk about what Cleveland is talking about, which is the notion that Cleveland has blown it again by not selecting Carson Wentz with the number 2 pick. I'm going to go back to what I said in the draft. Of the 2 quarterbacks, you know that I liked Wentz more than I liked Goff. I felt that he was smarter, he had a bigger body and a bigger arm. The negatives were obviously he played at a smaller school. The thing that was the real positive for me was his attitude was real good. And he was a quick learner. He's a smart kid. And those things really, if the processing that is necessary, hi Bronk, the processing that's necessary to do the job, it starts upstairs. But I want to talk about, did the Browns really blow it? Of course, people can say it's too early to tell, and I understand that. But based upon what we saw yesterday, Wentz looked very good. He was very calm, and he did what he was supposed to do. I will say that when we put pressure on him in the second quarter, he didn't look so good. When the defense just got tuckered out and confused, he looked real good. In the first drive of the game, when the defense didn't start playing, he looked real good. So, that's that. Here's what I think. For those people who are saying that the Cleveland Browns should have selected Carson Wentz, I really believe that the future of a player is really strongly dictated by what team selects him in the draft. And we've seen it a million times where a Steve Young goes to a Tampa Bay Buccaneer team that was the worst team in football, and he was running for his life. And had he stayed there, he would have had no career whatsoever. And that he ends up going to the 49ers, a good team, and look what he becomes. When you start out with a bad football team that can't protect you, this is the kind of thing that happens. If Carson Wentz started as a Cleveland Brown, he wouldn't have looked any better than RG3 looked in the game. Let's be honest with ourselves for a minute, rather than wanting to pound the front office into the ground, which is, of course, easy and sometimes fun. Let's look at it from a broader perspective. If he were the starting quarterback for the Browns, how is he going to recover from Cam Irving snapping balls over his head, or Pastor missing blocks on the right side of the line? How is he going to recover from receivers who can't get off the line of scrimmage. How would he survive dropped passes in the first couple of series by his best receiver, Barnage, and his number one pick rookie, Coleman? How would a guy react to that? Would he be able to set his feet in the pocket and throw the long passes that he threw? And the answer is obviously no, he wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that Cleveland fans have to be honest about this. No quarterback wants to come to a situation like Cleveland because we've seen the first one go down, and we're going to see McCown go down within 3 or 4 weeks as well. And this is the problem of playing with a team that's really not NFL ready. And you don't wish that on a young quarterback. I'm happy that Carson Wentz played well. I don't think he's with a good team in Philadelphia, but he was playing the best team that he could play against. He was playing a weak Cleveland Browns team, and that was very helpful. And I think also he had enough protection against a poor Browns pass rush that and the running game was good enough that it enabled him to stay in pretty safe passing situations, especially in the second half of the game. And once he got loose and the whole Eagles team got loose in the second half of the game, thanks to Cam Irving and his ridiculous snap, and we'll talk about that in a minute, everything loosened up for them and everything went well. The Cleveland Browns, on the other hand, could make a good quarterback right now look really bad. And I'm not going to suggest to you that RG3 was, and you notice I'm using past tense, you're never going to see him play for the Browns again, folks. What you saw in the first week is what you saw. He's never going to play for Cleveland again. His contract, they're not going to put him on the field. He can't stay healthy. There are people in the press who are saying that he initiated the contact on the play that he ran out of bounds. I think he was screened by his own man and didn't see the guy, and this is what I'm talking about now, Wable. I don't believe that he tried to, because he didn't put his head down and try to bull over the guy. He was standing straight up. I just think he was screened out, and he didn't expect the guy to be standing there right on the sidelines. But I think he's so brittle. I don't think that it wouldn't have mattered if that didn't cause it, something else would have caused it. Hi, Tom H. How are you in the chat room? That's kind of the way that it works. When you have a brittle quarterback, and he's not big enough to play the position in the NFL, and he really is it's an unfortunate situation that the only chance that he had to reclaim his early career was with the team that had no chance to protect him. So RG3 is in the past. There's another thing I want to mention that ties into this, because I've got all these stories sitting here on my tablet. The first thing is, the Browns really were a feast or famine, really, as far as the play selection was concerned. It was either 2-yard passes or 50-yard bombs. And, we talked about that in the postgame show. And I've had, these shows on Monday, I think, are the best shows, because we have the opportunity to look at the totality of the game, then sleep on it and say, there's something I didn't consider in the emotion of the moment. And what I see is that so much differs by who is seeing the field. And Tom H. is saying, wait a minute, there was a new tweet posted that showed him brace his left arm and lean forward to prep for the hit. He did drive into the defender. Well, that's entirely possible. I think maybe he was frustrated. Maybe he wanted out. I can't tell you what's going through that guy's mind, but I will say that the Browns are going to be better off that he's gone, and I'll explain to you. That's what I'm getting to now. If you drop back and pass, any quarterback that you've seen play has to survey the field. The reason there were concerns about RG3 is that he's not a traditional pocket passer. He's a guy who likes to sprint out and pass the ball while moving. That didn't happen. The Browns want him to stay in the pocket, which is fine. That's what quarterbacks do in the NFL, but he's not good at it. Whenever I see a quarterback either throwing long or very short, it tells me that A, he's not going through his progressions. All right. The one ball that was thrown way over the head of Corey Coleman, there was a second string defensive back who had just come into the game because one of their guys got hurt and they were trying to exploit him. That was a primary read. The ball that was thrown to Coleman, the first play of the second half, that pass was grossly underthrown and he was triple teamed. The long pass that was caught by Terrell Pryor was a great catch, but not a great thrown ball. Whenever I see a 2-yard pass go out, it tells me that it's a check down. It tells me that the quarterback is not at all confident with what he sees. He's getting concerned in the pocket. He checks down and throws the ball out in the flat. And I saw a lot of that. 7 of the 12 passes were completed to running backs. What I'm telling you is that the reason we were feast or famine was not because of Hugh Jackson's play calling, because there were receivers going over the middle of the field. RG3 simply didn't throw the ball in that part of the field. And I think the reason he didn't is that he has trouble reading the field. And when you saw him go over the middle and throw behind people, it results in interceptions. I don't think that he's a comfortable passer from the pocket. I don't think he's an accurate passer from the pocket. I think that this is the best news that could have happened to the Cleveland Browns because, honestly, the one thing we know about McCown, besides the fact that he'll be injured in 3 or 4 games, is that he will spread the ball around, that he's not afraid to throw the ball over the middle. And the reason that Barnidge didn't catch a pass the whole game, besides the 2 drops early, is that he was not even targeted at all in the second half of the football game. And that's your best guy, most reliable hands receiver. And the reason there was nothing going over the middle was because the quarterback opted not to throw the ball there. I think when you see Josh McCown play against the Ravens this coming weekend, I'm not saying that they're going to look a whole hell of a lot better, but I think you're going to see the ball spread around more to tight ends, wide receivers, and running backs, and I think you're going to see more of the field being used. I don't believe that. I mean, Hugh Jackson, yeah, the fake punt, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's not that I'm letting Hugh Jackson off the hook. What I'm doing is telling Browns fans, rather than cry in your drink, is to acknowledge that RG3 is not a pocket passer, and to acknowledge that he wasn't going to be able to hold up a full season in the pocket, and that what you were seeing was the result of a quarterback who was not going through his progressions and who was not surveying the field and seeing who was open and where in the field they were open. So with that in mind, Carson Wentz looked a whole lot better than RG3, but I want to, before you get the wrong idea about my opinion of Carson Wentz, the Eagles were having trouble with the Browns in the second quarter of the game, and the Browns were starting to push them around. And the Browns' offensive line was actually moving them, and until things bogged down, when we didn't get the touchdown because RG3 overthrew a clear touchdown pass to Andrew Hawkins, once the second half began, the snap is what really threw us behind the 8 ball. When you're part of a losing organization and you see something like that happen, it's easy to let the air out, so to speak. And the air came out of the Cleveland Browns. And Cam Irving is, I saw after he made the mistake that the coaches told him to go over and practice his snapping. I mean, there's no time for this. This isn't junior high school, and we don't have time for it. There are certain things that I understand people can make a mistake on. Guy can drop a pass. I get that. But repeated snaps over the quarterback's head throughout the preseason and now the regular season, I've already seen enough of Cam Irving. I don't want to see him on the field anymore. And I think the coaches would be smart to start working somebody else into the center position, because it's not like we're running well. It's not like we're doing anything particularly well from the offensive side of the ball. And just giving teams points like that. And it wasn't just the 2 points. It was the 7 that came after, because you're immediately giving the ball back to them, and your defense is like, wait, we just gave you the ball. What, why are we back on the field again? And they don't have the resilience, quite honestly, because they're not a winning organization. And General Dog is correct. They should have been addressing this in preseason, and I think they felt they had. They committed to Cam Erving, and I think the biggest mistake that the Browns have made in there, I see Amsterdam commenting that Alex Mack struggled a little on snaps in his first year. I take in Amsterdam, you haven't been able to get this thing to work. You might want to type into the chat room exactly what you're experiencing with Google Hangouts. Maybe somebody in the chat room can help you, because we would love to have you on here. That's for sure. General Dog saying, hey, Hugh Jackson, your offense stinks and the Bengals haven't missed a beat without you. I'm not really going to get down on Hugh Jackson, because I believe Hugh Jackson was coaching to win. And I think some of the chances that were took were maybe a little bit extreme when you take a chance, but at least it's better than watching Pat Shurmur just concede, or watching Eric Mangini just concede. You try with what you're given. And this is not what Hugh Jackson asked for. This is the only opportunity for him to coach a job, much like it was the only opportunity for RG3 to quarterback a team. And there are going to be long days and long nights. And but I do believe, no, I would sit him down now, Wable. I would sit Cam Erving down. I mean, there are some situations that you can fight your way through. There are others that are in a player's head, and he's just going to keep doing it over and over and over again. And I remember when Mike Pruitt was fumbling for Forrest Gregg, and I tell this story all the time on the air because this is a mental state. Mike Pruitt, when he played for Forrest Gregg, because Forrest Gregg was an asshole, he fumbled the ball away in his rookie year a lot. When Sam Rutigliano took over the team, and I talked to Sam about this on the air, Sam sat down with him and said to him, I've looked at running back who never fumbled in this many carries, and it turned out it was Mike Pruitt when he played for Purdue. And he goes, you don't have a fumbling problem, basically what he had. And Sam, off the air, it was a Forrest Gregg problem. And that's what caused the emotional unrest. You give a man a chance, but had Mike Pruitt put the ball on the ground after the head coach had faith in him, then he would have sat. I think they gave him every opportunity, Cameron Erving, and they gave him an entire preseason to work it out, and it reared its ugly head, and it will again. Bronk is saying, so Moo, who is to fucking blame for the Browns? I want to blame someone. And the answer is, it's a cumulative thing. It's kind of like your and my back, Bronk. My back. What is the cause that I can't play tennis anymore and I can't do anything really physical anymore? And the answer is, it's a combination of things. And those people who want to blame and assess blame to a situation, there are so many things you can point your finger at, but the repeated mistakes in drafting, as well as the lack of continuity in any meaningful system, and the hiring of head coaches who never proved to be anything anywhere else that they went. All of these things added together are what are responsible for the Browns being as bad as they are. General Dog saying, unfortunately for Hugh, his handpicked boy was overwhelmed yesterday, and frankly, I still don't think RG3 has the pocket awareness an NFL quarterback needs to have, and I agree with you. I think that in the end, the reason your back degenerates is because of in my case, the weight I was carrying and the activities I was doing. And one day you wake up and you end up with 17 years of the Cleveland Browns badness. And one day you wake up and your back's giving out on you. That's kind of the way life is. It's a series of things that add on to one another, and there's an eventual outcome. Again, you're saying Hugh doesn't know anything about quarterbacks. No quarterback is going to look good in this system. You tell me one quarterback. I mean, we watched Garoppolo play yesterday in a system that is a sound system, play a safe football game with good quality people around him. And that's great. You tell me that Garoppolo would look good in Cleveland. You tell me that any quarterback, that Dak Prescott would look good with the Cleveland Browns, with what the Browns are putting out on the field. You have one wide receiver who was a quarterback his whole career. You've got a midget who gets hurt all the time in Andrew Hawkins. You've got Barnage, who's good when he's got some speed around him, but he's slow and lumbering any other way. And you've got a rookie who's really only caught 2 balls in his life. I don't know a single quarterback who'd look good with this team. So, you can say that Hugh Jackson knows nothing about quarterbacks, but Jesus Christ, folks, I mean, you're seeing what quality of player is out on the field. You see that. And they're not good enough. And when a team it feels inadequate players at skilled positions, the quarterback is not going to succeed. And talk to me after Carson Wentz plays against a 5-star defensive unit and see how good he looks. I'm telling you, he looked like shit when we put pressure on him in the second quarter. He's just a kid. He's going to be a nice player, I think. But don't put it all on the quarterbacks and don't put it all on the head coach. And that's right. RG3 was not making reads and progressions because it's not what he ever did. Shanahan told it like it was. Mike Shanahan said the only way he would ever succeed is with that read option because that's all he can do. That's it. I don't get as excited about this as most of the fans. I knew how bad this team was going to be. I was hoping that RG3 would last for a few weeks anyway, just for shits and giggles. But I predicted that he would be gone after 3 games, and he surprised me, and he's gone after 1. And now I'm telling you that by week 5, by the time that Gordon comes back, I think McCown's going to be gone too. You just can't take this kind of punishment. So, yeah, I'm not going to blame the head coach after 1 game. Hell no. The roster is what the roster is. Wait a minute. I hear something. He would be gone after 3 games. Do you have a headset? Because I'm getting all of your speaker. I'm hearing myself.
Better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were getting feedback.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. So
you figured it out.
It worked a lot faster on my iPhone than I did my Mac. I don't know what's cock blocking it on the Mac, but I just used the same app I had, and it popped right up. So there you go.
Beautiful. Well, I'm absolutely thrilled that you're with us. This is In the Flesh and Blood. Jay or Amsterdam, you can call me Ray. You can call me James. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Howdy.
So, okay, you've heard what I've said. Well, your take. What do you think about the whole RG3 thing?
Yeah, I think he's toast too. He looks spindly for a baseball player, to be honest. And yeah, it was a crazy scene. The guy tackled him from out of bounds, but he doesn't avoid contact. And like you say, he doesn't say anything over the middle. It's like one read on an out, but no crossing patterns he sees, and he's behind everybody on a crossing pattern. And I don't know. I'm the Wentz thing. I went there. I went to the Browns backers with a buddy who was an Eagles fan, and he kept saying thanks, Cleveland. So I want Wentz to face a real defense that won't highlight him so much.
Well, he's going to. I mean, rookies are going to play. You're going to play good teams eventually. This was the best game possible for him to start because the Browns are obviously not a good football team. They don't have a good pass rush. But the problem to me, and you said it and everyone saw it, is that when the ball's late getting to where it's getting and he's throwing behind people, it almost seems like there should be enough reps in the preseason for the starting quarterback and his wide receivers that shouldn't happen. But the fact is that Corey Coleman barely played in the preseason because of a hamstring. And a lot of the things that you see were him throwing to players for the first time. I don't know what we accomplished by naming a quarterback so early in the preseason, but the guys around him, because of soft tissue injuries, don't play. He was throwing to these people for the first time, and it looked like it. He looked like the restricted playbook quarterback, and Wentz looked like he was using more of the playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he actually could read the field, stayed pretty calm. I mean, he's a big boy in there, so and agreed. Second quarter, we rattled him a little bit. Our defense just got so worn down they couldn't do anything later in the game, I think, like usual.
Well, when you throw 2-yard passes and 50-yard bombs, you're not going to move the flags. We talked about this prior to the game. I mean, the whole show's leading up with it. The only way the Browns can win is if they control the ball, if they run the football, if they control possession, and they keep the ball out of the hands of the opponents, because we have a weak secondary. And instead, I mean, people in the chat room want to say, well, Joe Thomas was missing blocks. Well, I'm going to tell you that Joe Hayden ain't what he used to be. Joe Hayden got beat by a nobody. I mean, and this happened a lot last year before he got hurt. He's not the same player he was.
Yeah, he's good over the middle and the short curls, but anything deep, it seems like you could just put the ball out in front and he can't stay with anybody anymore.
Yeah. And, I don't know what to say, except it's really, there's not much else you can say about RG3 except that he's gone. And now Cody Kessler is one step up. And what I'm going to ask you next, and the people in the chat room next, is, seeing as how everybody is as critical as they are of the Browns front office, if you were in the front office, would you go out and get a veteran quarterback now to prevent the possibility of Cody Kessler playing?
Now, I guess they're in so deep now that I guess you're just going to have to ride it out with that fool, because, I think McGowan gives us the best chance to win, but, he hadn't proven that he can go a full season either. So, I guess if they're going to tank it, they might as well, if they can pick somebody up without a trade, I guess they will.
I would get somebody, because Cody Kessler is not ready to play football.
Oh, he's horrible.
Not ready to play for this team, especially. And General Dog agrees. He says, I'd rather trade for somebody than play Kessler. And I agree. And so does Wiley Fox agree, because you just can't have that kid at the helm. And look, it would have been, and I'm not comparing him and Carson Wentz, but I'm saying any rookie quarterback, if he was wearing people in the backfield, and especially when the team has no ability to run the football, let's be honest, every Browns game is going to end up the same, and that is with us having to throw on every down and the quarterback getting hurt for his life.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, it's
it's horribly obvious. It's going to be run for your life. Pasture looks a little weak over there, and I don't know about. It seems like no matter who's running the defense, no one can tackle anybody on a run. I don't know.
And Bronk is saying the USC quarterback now is better than Kessler was. Here's the thing, and I know that people are talking about Hugh Jackson, and not in a very positive light. The trick plays that the Browns threw out in yesterday's game, and there were 4 of them, and they were equally unsuccessful. Let's take a few of them. The ones that really stand out to me are the little flip end around to Andrew Hawkins that got buried for a loss, the fake punt that got buried for a loss. I guess maybe I'm a little old school about this. I believe that there is a time for a trick play, but I believe that your players have to know how to block before you would bother running any play, and why anyone would believe that a trick play is going to do anything else but trick our own young team at this point, because those 2 plays were prime examples, as the end around of a play that was not blocked. If you want to take a look at the fake punt, that was even more hilarious. Do you realize on the left side of the line, blocking, long snapper Hewlett? I mean, if you look at that play in slow motion, I've looked at it several times. He didn't even block a man. The man runs right in the backfield and blows the thing up. And then the right side of the line didn't block. It doesn't matter what play you run if you can't block. When I stop talking, that's usually your cue.
Hello. I'm messing with the iPad. I was trying to get that going too. I figured if I had two devices going, it would be better. But fuck it.
But I guess yeah, it's the X's and O's of the game. You got to block. And look, it's Vince Lombardi, it's Bill Belichick, it's X's and O's football. You've got to put bodies on bodies, and the Browns don't block well. And I would rather the team just run its damn playbook than concern itself with gadget plays when they don't know how to block.
It looked frighteningly high school-esque at the worst. That was fucking horrible to watch. Well, there you go. Never mind.
Wow.
Okay, now I got you on two devices. Never mind.
Okay.
Next time, I will be sharp and crisp here.
All right, good.
All right, we just bounce all over the fucking place.
Yeah, and I'm seeing people saying they're still going on Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson maybe invite some criticism because he's a bit outspoken, but I want a guy with a little swagger because, look, the coaches that we had, Mangini was just a selfish prick who wanted a bigger office. Chudzinski was just grateful that he had a job and he got screwed real quick. Shermer had no business being on the sideline because he's mentally retarded. And you take a look at the guys that we had on the sidelines all these years. I'd rather have a confident guy with a little swagger than the parade of pumpkins that we've had previously.
Yeah, Hugh. I've got confidence in Hugh. I mean, if he doesn't get worn out and want to quit, he may be the only one that quits before he gets fired.
Well, 0-16 is a real possibility here, and I would not fire him. He's got the worst team in the league. He's got the worst roster in the league. You don't fire somebody. You've got to start building at some point, and you want to see from week 1 to week 16 how this team progresses, how things move forward. That's really it, and it either works out or it doesn't work out. But it's getting worse by constantly switching and bringing in different concepts. Assuming that Josh Gordon can stay straight, he and Pryor together make a real big track meet. And then if Coleman can develop a little bit and maybe Coleman will develop a little rapport with a veteran quarterback like McCown, who I think is a better teammate than RG3. And, then you have at least a passing game, something that is, yes, Lance, Salazar is hurt badly enough that he's not allowed to touch a baseball for 10 days. The earliest he could come back would be in 4 weeks, and that's the postseason. He's got a swelling in one of the muscles or nerves in his arm, and it's a bad situation, and a guy with arm trouble, we'll get into it a little bit later in the program, but yeah, he's hurt and it's not good.
Sounds like the same prognosis for Roberto Perez. Don't touch a baseball for 10 days.
Very good. Very good. I agree.
A little better. He's hitting a little better now, but
well, I mean, my father used to say a blind pig will find an acorn once in a while. I mean, if you just stood up there with lumber and hacked, I suppose you'd eventually hit one. That seems to be the case with him. I just think that Perez is a poor catcher. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but in recent games, he's staring at literally staring at the dugout, looking for signs. I mean, I don't think he's calling a lot of the pitches now. I think some of that's coming from the dugout now, and he's perpetually confused and keeps coming out to talk to pitchers. And he did it with Andrew Miller in the last game. I don't understand. He's not a good catcher. He doesn't know how to call a game, and he can't hit. I think that it's a real mistake having him up there.
It's a huge part of the game, like you point out. Gomes, struggling mightily, but that calling a game is so overlooked. You can see when it's called properly, when pitchers aren't shaking you off every 3 times, and you get it. You just get on the same page on just situations. It's such a situational game that Perez just seems clueless. None of the pitchers seem confident in what he calls, and they seem a little frustrated in some of the pitch calls too. So,
well, it's funny. Michelle is in the chat room, and she had one of the greatest quotes from yesterday that I've ever seen, and that was, "I am never going to pick against my Superchargers again." That's when they were up by 17 points. They lost. They blew a 17-point lead against the Chiefs and lost. But don't feel bad, Michelle. Don't feel bad, because taking a look at the league, and it ain't a pretty thing, Mr. Moohead did, okay? I want to give the people who did well their just due, because it wasn't me. Are you in the Pick'em League, by the way, Amsterdam?
No.
Why the fuck not?
I don't know. I've just I never played fantasy or a Pick'em League, so no. I can always jump in.
This is not. Boy, this is really weird. It's not pulling up here on my. What happened to my tablet? My tablet. Let's see here if I can pull it up this way. Okay, there we are. To put it in perspective, here's the games I was wrong on. All right. Carolina and Denver, I was wrong. Tampa and Atlanta, I was wrong. Minnesota and Tennessee, Tony the Calf can piss all over me. I was wrong. New Orleans and Oakland. Well, I mean, who would have picked that 2-point conversion thing? But 35-34, it wasn't Bree's fault, but New Orleans, as usual, can't play defense. Then I had a great streak where I picked everything right, and then all of a sudden, man, at the tail end, Indianapolis losing to Detroit. How in the fuck does that happen? And then New England beating Arizona, which the Arizona general manager called unacceptable. I only had 8 correct picks out of, well, we got more games tonight, 2 to be precise. I picked Pittsburgh, and I've picked the Rams. Who knows? Let's give the people who are winning some pimpage. Arbus with 11. Woo! He's leading the way. Wiley Fox with 10. The moral Christian Wright is in second. Big Dog is starting out strong with 10. Then a bunch of people at 9, including Johnny LaRue, Team Sunnyvale, KB and Corpus, Wable, good job, dude. General Dog, you're right there at 9. Big Lurker UK at 9. Mogambi at 9. LaShawn Picks at 9. And then people at 8. Let's see who really sucked the gigantic moose. That would be Dan Rodentia, who is 5 and 9. Let's see. And Topo Gigio, Bronk himself. The tramadol got to his brain, and he was 6 and 8. See it. Jameric was 7 and 7. So there you go. So far, it's Arbus in the lead, so everybody knows who to target.
Boo, I was watching the your halftime and your post game yesterday, and
I'm sorry.
I watched it after the fact. And your co-host, his surroundings, was he in a bomb shelter? He was. The camera was like covering the ceiling, and it looked like water damage and peeling paint, and I didn't know if he was on witness protection or.
No, actually, and I want to be delicate about this because Jim was very, very graceful in jumping in and helping out on and wants to help out in some of these programs. But he is homeless.
Okay, I didn't mean to be insensitive. Now I feel like a schmuck.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I got you.
Well, fuck him.
The cow got you.
You bastard.
This is what you get when you have a cow as a co-host. No, I don't know what the fuck it was either. And it kept moving, and it was like, I thought I was in a 60s acid movie, to be very honest with you. I thought it was a whole LSD experience, but I don't know. Jim, I don't know where he was. Maybe he just didn't want his wife to know he was doing a show with a cow. It's possible.
Did he do it pantsless?
That's more information than I would have even wanted to ask.
It seemed like maybe he was on a hideout someplace.
Yeah, please, Hammer, don't hurt them. Yeah, no, he was, I don't know what the background was. I was wondering that kind of too. It's like,
I watched The Walking Dead. I thought it was one of the scenes from one of their sets. It looked like
I think it needs a renovation. Yeah, renovation time at Hammer Time's house. Oh, what about CM Punk? This is where the expression getting punked comes from. You know, Hammer was actually at the fight. He was actually at the UFC, all of those, you know, in Cleveland. And he got to witness the emaciated 170-pound CM Punk tap out after 2 minutes and 47 seconds of the first round because the winner was not predetermined before the fight began. You know, I don't know what it is. If I were a professional wrestler, and look, I'm not saying it takes chops to do that gig because it's really hard on the body, but what would make you think you could go into the octagon and do that, man? You got to be crazy.
He thought he was fighting Pampero Firpo.
Pampero Firpo? Now there's a reference for you. What was he known as?
The
Eighth
Madman of Borneo.
You know, it's really interesting. Pampero Firpo is an owned name. The original Pampero Firpo was the eighth wonder of the world. And when I was a kid, he was on, because you're younger than I am, he was on Big Time Wrestling, which got distributed out of Detroit, Michigan. And he had all this crazy hair, and he had, his hold was this claw hold. He had little studs on his fingers, and he called it the El Garfio.
He grabbed you over the forehead.
Yeah, that's right.
We're close.
Yeah, I'm
not too far behind you in age.
How old are you?
I'm 55.
Really? You look great.
Thanks.
What's my fucking problem? I look old. I knew I didn't like you.
So you did okay.
God damn, are you like gay?
Stop it.
Well, I think you're using some kind of facial cream.
Yep. It's South Florida. I sweat profusely.
Yeah, I was going to say, you looked like when that close-up was on you, you looked like you were being interrogated. I was wondering if it was flop sweat.
Just think of my lies in my head fast.
Hey, you're doing real well for a first time. You know, I actually have had people freeze the first time they were on the air, you know, so I think some of it is the fact that I'm just such a magnificent show host, but, you know, nobody else feels that way.
All I have to do is hang on to your udders and you can run.
I guess.
Hey.
Cleveland, the Indians won again, and the Indians are 7 games ahead. And do you think the Indians are going to finish in first now?
Yeah, I think 7. 7's pretty comfortable. I'm still worried about Detroit coming in and sweeping them.
Yep.
So I think
it's dangerous.
I think that's very possible, and I think it could go. I think they'll win out. Make the playoffs. I think it's going to be closer than it is right now. Like I say, I think they're going to drop several to Detroit. And Baltimore scares me. If all of a sudden they start hitting and we only go too deep in pitching, that's going to be a problem.
Well, the Salazar thing is definitely a hit. And you know what Tino's going to say is, oh, boy, I can get Tomlin out there again. A little cowboy. I want to shoot that son of a bitch. Yeah, I don't want him back out there.
If Bauer could only get past a 50 count after 2 innings, there's hope.
Well, and Clevenger actually started looking better the more he pitched. Stretch his goddamn arm out. You're not using him. You're using McAllister. He's never getting into a game. Stretch him out and let him start. For God's sakes, he's got at least some stuff. That's more than Tomlin has.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. Tomlin's all about location. I mean, he's got no deception. If his location slides above the knees, he's fucking dead. And
no, it's parked near the stands.
Because he's got no late movement on any of his pitches.
And you notice they don't go oppo on him. Everything's pulled, right?
Yeah.
Down the right field, left field line, because he grooves the ball.
They ate the shit out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just easy to hit. The thing about the Indians playing a team like the Twins, not to rub salt in Tony the Calf's wounds, but they're a lousy baseball team, and now the Tigers are playing them, so you can expect the Tigers to win every game against the Twins. Playing the Twins is kind of like fucking a Kardashian. You need the cushion. And the way that I look at it is the Indians needed the additional 3-game cushion that they got by playing a team like the Twins, and the Tigers were fortunately playing the Orioles, who started hitting like the Orioles, and the Tigers didn't have the pitching to stop it. We need that 7-game cushion, because you're right. We're going to be playing against all Central Division teams, and bring on the White Sox. That's fine, but it's not going to be so easy. The Royals may not be playing for anything, except that's the kind of team that can come out and hurt you.
Yeah, I think we're going to finish about 4 up when it's all said and done. I think it's going to be, I don't see us stretching that out to 10 games. I think it's going to be more like 3.5 or 4 at the end.
I hope that is the case. I hope. I'm just always nervous because I know that Miggy Cabrera is planning on ruining our lives the next time we see him.
Him and Victor.
Oh, yeah.
Victor's fucking money against us.
Yeah, and Cabrera's worse. I mean, the only thing that I saw work against them, they were pitching him really hard inside, and I would keep doing that. I just would not let that guy get his arms extended. He is such a good hitter. Bronk is talking about Johnny Powers. My God, that was the lousy wrestling program.
Johnny Powers.
Nobody watched the Channel 43 wrestling. Johnny Powers, that was, the big time wrestling was the real one with Bobo Brazil and the Sheik. That was the real wrestling. Johnny Powers was some yo-ho, boho, local, stupid piece of shit wrestling promotion.
He was Dominic DeNucci's bitch.
Dominic DeNucci. Oh my God. Do you remember he was part of an Italian tag team?
I do. Who was the big tall Russian Ivan or what the
big tall Russian
bald-headed
Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear?
No,
that was one.
There was another Eastern European that was on that circuit.
There was the mighty Igor. He was Polish. I don't know.
There was one of them. I saw at the Akron Arena, and I tried to put the Pampero claw in the guy's hand, and after a match, and he didn't find that funny, and about pinned me against the trash can.
I remember.
Yeah, we were like 17 coming out, and I go, oh, we'll fuck with this guy, and he came out in his street clothes, and he evidently didn't think that was funny.
Well, the best one for me.
He grabbed me by the forearm over my head and pushed me.
Remember the Iron Sheik's Russian partner? Who was the Russian who teamed up with the Iron Sheik and back in WWF before it was WWE?
Yeah, I can't think.
I met the Nikolai Volkov. Thank you, Lance.
Okay.
Thank you. My funniest wrestling story is in Canton, Ohio. I'm at the Hall of Fame Fitness Center where I played tennis. And I was playing tennis on the hard shoe courts there, and I went in to get a drink. And who's working out in the workout room but Nikolai Volkov? Because the wrestlers were in town to do a show. And, of course, if you're Nikolai Volkov, if you're huge, and you're not going to hide from anybody. So I went up to him, and I said, hey, man, I really enjoy watching you. And he looked at me, and you know what he said?
Love you a long time?
No, he says, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate doing this.
Oh, my God. He's from Alabama?
Yeah. Russian. I mean, I just wanted to fucking die. It was like, what a great moment. I mean, the Iron Sheik honestly talks like that, but no, not Nikolai Volkov. Ah, hell yeah, I'm going to do the Russian national anthem now.
Nice.
Oh, you got to love it.
Yeah. It's all stage.
The whole thing is a show, that's for sure. Here's something I wanted to run by you, too. We talk about college football. We watched Ohio State, and I'm not going to mention it more than that because it wasn't a football game. Tulsa, I don't even know what Tulsa is, but it's not a college football program. However, in this part of the country where I am, you're either a South Carolina fan or you're a Clemson fan. That's right. And Clemson, the high hopes for Clemson is based on Deshaun Watson, who is a guy who was a Heisman Trophy runner-up, I believe.
Yeah, he was the talk about the Browns would take him after their miserable season.
Right. I mean, Deshaun Watson is a guy who looked terrible so far this year, and they really played some really rotten football in the second week of the season. I do not know how Spinner Dave is. I have not spoken to him in some time. I hope he's okay. I'm just responding to Bronk's question in the chat room.
I didn't think you were speaking to the voices in your head.
Well, you never know. The medication, you know.
I'm okay.
Here's what Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson said on Monday. That he has had a hard time enjoying the start of the 2016 season because media obligations and expectations have weighed him down. This past weekend, you could feel the energy starting with me being the leader of the team, not really enjoying it. You can tell by my body language. It's been bad, and it spreads throughout the team. I'm not enjoying myself. Do you think somebody should just clue Deshaun Watson in that football is business and it's going to be business for the rest of his fucking life?
Well, he should know that. He's been paid the whole time he's been in Clemson.
Well, I mean, enjoy yourself is when you're getting jerked off by somebody. But I mean, work is not always, oh, I'm not enjoying myself. You know, you wonder, these guys come into the league with these attitudes. Why so few quarterbacks succeed?
Maybe Dabo Sweeney's too much of a Bible thumper for him.
You know, whatever it was, you know, when you barely beat Troy, and you know what the scary part about Troy is that their quarterback was Helen.
The Spartans did better against Troy.
Yeah, well, Troy should not be within a touchdown of you if you're the number 2 team in the nation. And no, Deshaun Kaiser from Notre Dame, don't even get me going there. Now, you know, they're all going to be talking about what the Browns are looking for, and what the Browns need to be looking for is a fucking roster, you know? That's a fucking
I'm afraid it's going to be one of those that were set up for those 2 picks in the top 10, and there won't be anybody available. It's going to be like the Mingo year. You're going to have a decent pick, and you're going to fucking whiff on it.
Well, I mean, there is not a single player who's going to bring the Cleveland Browns out of the problems that they're in. Let's put it that way. There is no way. I mean, it's going to take a multitude of players.
I would spend the first 4 rounds on offense and defensive lines.
And by the way, the Oklahoma State Central Michigan game that ended on the blown call by everybody associated with the officials, the replay center, everything else, because they don't know the rules of football. It was sad watching Oklahoma State's Gundy, the coach, take the blame for the last call of the game, which was the proper call because he knew the rules of the game, and because the officials did not, it cost him a football game. They announced that they are suspending the officials for like 2 games or 3 games or some such small little slap on the wrist. How can you be an official and not know the rules of the fucking game, especially when you put your head together? And then when you talk to the replay center, how could you not get it right?
Well, that's when you have these dentists and lawyers out there that do these games.
The other one that amazed the hell out of me was Nicholls State almost beating Georgia, the number 9 team in the country. It was 26-24, if you can believe that. I mean, I don't even know where Nicholls is. I don't even know where it is, but it's a little tiny school. And, you know, when these big schools start scheduling these lousy teams and only winning by 2 points, it's not real exciting for me, you know? Some of these teams, I don't even know, like, what is CHSO? Charleston Southern, is that who that is? That FSU beat 52-8? I mean, what kind of a game is that? Who wants Michigan playing UCF? 52-14 or 51-14. I mean, who wants to watch these games? Wisconsin beating Akron 54-10. Terry Bowden gets kicked in the nuts again. Notre Dame made sure they win in week 2 by playing Nevada. They bury bodies in Nevada. They don't play football in Nevada. God almighty. It's just pathetic. College football. All right, let's see if the I know how I want to finish the show. I want your input on this. This is, I don't know what your politics are, okay?
Same as yours.
All right. You recognize, before I move on, that Hillary lost the election this weekend.
By her fainting spell?
By lying about her health. I mean, let's be honest about this. Now they're saying pneumonia, but who knows what it is. But it was said by her own campaign that it was that she was trying to push through it, is the way they put it, meaning that this has been going on for some time. People were wondering, how did she let Trump back into the race? How come she wasn't around in August? Well, no, she was collecting money, you know, for the campaign. You know, she was raising money. Bullshit. She was too weak to campaign. Truth about this shit now. And how can you not be transparent enough to be able to tell the American public that you're not feeling well? I mean, you know, but everything is winning, and anything that could even be perceived as negative, you lie about. That's the way it is. But this is a different story. This is not a Hillary story. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that Hillary is going down the toilet because she's just running a horrible campaign. This is my favorite story. This is about a Canadian judge. All right. We always hear about how things are corrupt in America, but you never hear a good corrupt Canada story, right?
What would they pay him off in Labatt's?
No, this is great. Federal court judge Robin Camp is in the midst of a week-long judicial council hearing, which will determine whether he's going to lose his job. The case in question took place in 2014 when Camp was a provincial court judge. He has become a federal Canadian judge in the last year. In the case, a 19-year-old woman said she was raped over a bathroom sink during a house party. Right? According to records of the trial, the judge confronted her and said, "Why didn't you skew your pelvis or push your bottom into the sink to avoid penetration?" And then out loud, he says, "Why couldn't you just keep your knees together?"
I guess it worked for him in prison.
Now get this. On the subject of sex in general, here's what the judge said. Young women want to have sex, particularly if they're drunk. And then finally, this. This is before he exonerated the man who raped her. Some sex and pain sometimes go together. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's the John Cougar Mellencamp defense. Hurt so good. Come on, baby, make it hurt so good. Sometimes love don't feel like it should. Come on and make it hurt so good.
But
yeah. When he acquitted the man charged with the rape, he told the man, "I want you to tell your friends, your male friends, that they have to be more gentle with women. They have to be far more patient. They have to be careful to protect themselves. They have to be careful."
Interesting dating tips, huh?
It's like you have to be more patient with a woman. You just can't ram your dick between her legs. You got to let her settle into the sink first.
One more shot of Jaeger and she's good to go.
Oh, my God. In Canada, the verdict was overturned on appeal, by the way, and a new trial is scheduled for November. It's just unbelievable. That's in Canada. So don't say it's just happening in this country. It happens all over. Now, Wiley says, Hillary is a conniving, ugly, stupid bitch. Don't need to go there, Wiley. You don't have to go with the ugly bitch thing. You don't have to go there. I mean, the thing I don't understand is by calling 50% of Trump's followers deplorable, I mean, I don't understand that either. And I'm a Democrat, but I don't understand. I always thought it was one person, one vote. That was the thing about our country, except in Chicago where dead people can vote and people can vote multiple times. It's one person, one vote. When you go in to cast your vote, do they ask you what kind of a person you have? Do you have references? You go in and vote, Amsterdam, do they say to you, what kind of a guy are you?
I do absentee ballot. It's easier. I don't want to go out and stand on that crap.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it is unbelievable to say something bad about people who are the voters. I mean, if you believe, and I believe there are a percentage of people who support Donald Trump who are racist, who are hateful people. I believe that, there are haters who support Donald Trump. And I think there are haters or hateful people who support Hillary Clinton too. I don't think that we question the credentials of the voter before they vote. The thing I can't understand is if you're talking about racists, if you're talking about KKK people, if you're talking about, anti-Hispanic people, if you're talking about anti-transgender people, if you're talking about anti-gay people, I mean, Hillary isn't going to get any of those votes anyway. Why talk about them?
Yeah, under normal circumstances, Hillary would destroy him in the election, but every turn she has, she's always something's revealed and giving Trump more points and keeping it close. And like you say, I think she's just going to keep fucking up right until the end. That the health issues are going to pop up, and she doesn't. They don't seem aggressive on going after Trump's tax records or anything like that, and they're letting him slide on that. I don't know who's running their strategy, but they need to muzzle her and act like she's healthy. But every week looks like Trump does something stupid, and then she comes right back and does something stupid. So
yeah, well, I guess I don't understand why in the hell you would want to talk to somebody or about somebody whose vote you could never get anyway.
Yeah, I know.
What's the point of insulting people?
She threw a big tarp over a lot of people instead of saying a segment of his voters are nut jobs, to emphasize a half. It's pretty stupid.
Yeah. Well, we're done. It's the top of the hour and you made it. You officially survived your first Moohead show.
Moo!
That's something to cheer about. So, now that you've got the app in, feel free. You let me know via direct message when you're free to jump in. And, we're going to do this kind of tag team style and get some different faces and some different voices on the air to kind of freshen up things and to kind of help me out. Because honestly, sitting here, even with my back condition, can be really trying for an hour and a half's time. And, the more help that I get, the better off I'm going to be, and the longer the show will stay on the air.
Well, cool. Glad to have you back on the air.
All right, man. Well, thanks, and be in touch, please.
Absolutely. I'm good to go if you need me.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye now. Thanks. And thanks to everybody for watching this edition of Moohead Radio. We will be back again on Wednesday, to talk more about what's coming up next later in the week, talk a little bit about the Cleveland Indians and all that good stuff. Sorry it didn't go better for the Browns fans, but hey, this is the real world, folks. I'll be back again Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go Tribe. And until Wednesday, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.